Hi guys, chapter 3 is here and I've got an idea of what I want this time. Doubt it'll be much longer though. Enjoy. Chapter 3, Vikings in the Stars. Toothless Poth. I was flying around with Hiccup, still thinking of what happened last night. A human actually understands what I'm saying, and not just one, but probably all 6 of the Jedi that came here. Alright bud, let's head back. I turned around and went back to the clearing where the ships were. Dad, I heard Ben shout. I managed to replicate the pulse that sent us here. It might be able to take us back. I wonder if by any chance we might be able to see what their world looks like. Obviously, my hearing is more sensitive than Hiccup's, as he just went into his house without even caring. I went over to where the ships were. Hey Toothless, I turned around and saw Vestera. Hi Vez, I think Ben just said he figured out how to get you guys back. Oh my god, really that's what I heard? I sighed as she ran into the ship. I feel like I'm about to lose the only people who I can talk to. Just then, Vestera ran back out and went to the twilight, probably to tell the others. I started heading back home, then I heard Hiccup calling for me. I went to where he was with Astrid and Stormfly. We were about to go for a fly, when Jaina came over to us. Ben managed to replicate the pulse that sent us here and reverse it. We were wondering if you guys wanted to come. We can just use the unreversed signal to get back here. I threw my head up, almost knocking Hiccup off my back. Whoa there Toothless, I heard Hiccup say. Laughing, I want to go. Me and Stormfly said together. Looks like Toothless and Stormfly want to go, if they will even fit in the ships. Haha, we all smiled and went back to the ships. Won't the others want to come too, asked Astrid. We will have to come back with a bigger ship for that, replied Jaina. Hiccup's Poth. We told the others where we were going and said we would bring something bigger to take them, and got on the ships. We got on the Twilight since that was the only ship our dragons would even fit on. It was a squeeze for Toothless and Stormfly because they were in the hangar with a Jedi Starfighter. Astrid and I went to the bridge of the ship, which was where they controlled it, and watched as we took off and went into space. It looks amazing, said Astrid, and it did, although it was completely black. All the stars and worlds were incredible. Then we saw our world. It's beautiful, I said. Astrid nodded. Just then, it was as if the stars stretched, and then we're in some kind of blue and black tunnel. Welcome to hyperspace, said Various. We sat there, awestruck for about 10 minutes, and then we saw the stretched stars. Then it was back to normal. I've got the map. We are back in our own galaxy. I heard Vestera. She's on the other ship. How can we hear her, I asked. The comm system allows us to communicate with other people, replied Various. Ready to jump to Coruscant, asked Jaina. Already, replied Ben. Then, we went into the weird hyperspace tunnel again. Astrid's Poth. After a few more minutes, we came out of hyperspace and saw another world. It looked nothing like where we had come from. The planet of Coruscant, one giant city. I heard Hans say, it looked like pure iron in the shapes of cogs, with lights all over the place. We landed inside a giant building that the others called the Jedi Temple. We got out and saw a lot more ships. Some had long noses and wings at the back. These were called X-Wings. According to the Jedi, there were also X-Wings that were painted pure black, with red trims and white marks. These were a stealth X variant of the X-Wing. There was also a giant saucer-shaped ship, which they said was a Millennium Falcon, a modified YT-1300F light freighter. We went to an area outside that had even bigger ships, called Star Destroyers, and I noticed some of them looked slightly different. What about them, I asked, pointing to a Star Destroyer that had a slightly different bridge, and was painted in red and yellow. That's a Venator-class Star Destroyer. It was used a lot back in the Clone Wars, and, thanks to Varys, we managed to get a few that still had the old Republic markings, answered Luke. And that's what we will be taking to get your friends, said Varys, pointing to what looked like a smaller version of the Venator class that only had one bridge, not two, an Acclamator I-class assault ship. We went to a food hall inside the temple while the Jedi and Han took the Acclamator I-class back to our planet to pick up the others. Alina's Poth. I was having lunch when I saw Uncle Han and Aunt Leia coming with 2 very strange-looking people, and 2 even stranger-looking animals. The 2 strangers and their animals got some fish and sat down. Well, the animals sat on the floor. I went over to them and sat at their table. I haven't seen you 4 here before. Who are you, I asked. I'm Astrid. This is Hiccup, and our dragons, Toothless and Stormfly, said the girl. What about you? My name is Alana Solo. Solo, you mean you're Han and Leia's daughter? Well, not exactly. They are my aunt and uncle. Oh, I suppose you have a ship as well. Uncle Han has taught me how to fly the Falcon, so I can fly one. What about you? Do you have a ship? She looked at Hiccup and they both grinned. Not quite, but we can still fly. Toothless, the black dragon, obviously saw my confused face because he said, Stormfly and I can fly, and they just ride us. Oh, right, I said, understanding. You're force sensitive as well. Who around here isn't force sensitive, said Astrid. I got confused again. Yeah, but how did you know that only force sensitives can understand dragons? apparently. Oh, that explains. And as for your other question, you're in the Jedi Temple. All Jedi are Force sensitive, I giggled. Oh come on, now you're just making me jealous. We all laughed. Hey, Alana, do you want to have a ride on Toothless? Asked Hiccup. Sounds fun. We all went down to the hangar where the Twilight was, and Astrid got on Stormfly, while Hiccup got on Toothless and offered a hand to help me up behind him. Hold on tight, said Stormfly. I put my arms around Hiccup's waist and we took off, and it was so much better than flying around Coruscant in the Falcon. I squealed as we weaved through the traffic and around buildings. We went straight up and then started falling for a second before Toothless readjusted himself and we were rocketing down straight towards the ground, where we pulled up at the last second. This is so much fun, I yelled, as we went back to the hangar. Jaina's Pov. I smiled as we went back to the planet where we had found the Vikings and their dragons. We landed the Acclamator I-class on a nearby island that had enough room to fit the huge ship, and went into the hangar. We got in our fighters that we had brought along, me and my Stealth X, Luke in his X-Wing, Han and Leia in the Falcon, Varys in her Jedi Starfighter, and Ben and Vestra in the Shadow, and we flew to Burke. We landed in the same clearing as before and saw the exact people we wanted to see. We brought a bigger ship, as we said. That doesn't look much bigger, said Ruffnet, pointing to the Falcon. It was too big to land here, so it's on a nearby island. I replied, just follow us on your dragons. We'll go slower for you this time. I tried not to laugh but failed. Snogglout just rolled his eyes and they got on their dragons. While we got back in our ships, we took off and the dragons followed us to where we had left the cruiser. Okay, that's pretty big, said Fishlegs, amazed at how big it actually was. We all landed back inside the hangar, which this time had room for all the dragons and ships without being crowded. As we flew into space, we had the same reactions from this group as we did with Astrid and Hiccup. Hope you enjoyed this chapter. Don't ask me how this story will end up, cause I DK. Anyway, new chapters every day, so keep an eye out for chapter 4. Mike and Chris.